We are lining up Mahendran Mudli to come and share with us what is going to occupy us for the better part of the first session before lunch. And Mahendran, you don't have enough time, and I'm going to thrust you right between tea time and the audience. Hope you have the guts and the stamina to handle that. You know, when they don't like you, they throw you in there. Hey, lunchtime. There you go. You look at the audience and you can tell they are really hungry, and you're thinking, I have one more point to make. No, you don't. Where's the man who's miking Mahendran? Oh, he's going to use this, eh? You're okay using this, Mahendran? You need the mic, yeah. But don't you have a short introduction, maybe? You can use this. Okay, they want to mic him. And that's where they are overworking you as program director, because, you know, you prepare short remarks and then you run out, you know. I'll tell you about auditing. I'm just going to share personal stories. I didn't audit my son's usage of the internet once. And Vodacom gave me a rude awakening. And they shut it down. And I said, why are you shutting down my internet? They said, you're 5,000. I said, I never get to 2,000. How did I manage 5,000? The rest is history. So if you're out there not auditing your son's or daughter's internet usage, get some shock treatment and heart disease, all kinds of treatment, because when you find out what they do on the internet, whew. Mahendran, are you ready? No, they can't. If you can hear Mahendran, please respond. Say something.
Can everybody hear me?
No, I doubt it.
You doubt?
Yeah.
Just get the mic.
All right.
Everyone, I'm going to talk from this mic while they sort this one out. We're going to enter our simulated audit committee meetings. We'll be starting with our pre-audit committee meetings that normally happens between the audit committee chair, the external audit, separate meeting with internal audit, and also separate with the CFO. Just to give you a brief background, the company we'll be looking at today is a toy manufacturing company. They're a listed company and they have a global operations. And that's what we'll be looking at. The audit committee will also be focused on the year-end audit. So after the financial statements have been prepared and audited as well. So I'm going to take a seat there. And we're going to start with the first meeting with the external audit partner.
I know they're external auditors, but if you don't give them a round of applause, I can tell you they're not going to come up. Come on, we know we don't like external auditors, but I'm sure you can be a little more enthusiastic. Please welcome Jacques de Villiers. Oh no, Jacques, sorry, I can't help you, man, I tried. Okay, here he comes, Jacques de Villiers.
Hi, Jacques. Pleased to see you again. Jacques, you probably know that the audit committee pack was sent out about 10 days ago. And, you know, we normally have these meetings for us just to engage, understand what the issues were. So please, you know, feel free to voice any concerns, your opinions. Don't feel pressurized in any situation. This is a closed room. And you can raise any issues freely and openly.
Thanks a lot. Although it's a private meeting, it feels like 400 people's watching me.
Yeah, somehow I do get that sense. Jacques, tell me, how did this year's audit progress? You know, were there any challenges? And if so, how did you overcome those during your audit process?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we did experience some challenges. We experienced some delays in receiving the final trial balance and some of the information from the CFO. I think it was due to a shortage of staff. You know, there were 3 vacancies, but we did receive all the information necessary to satisfy ourselves and to support our opinion. We overcame it by assigning more staff and more people, working an additional 80 hours. So although we had some challenges, we did overcome it.
And tell me, Jacques, do you feel that your independence was questioned at any time during management? Were you called to do any other non-audit service work during this engagement?
No situation arose where our independence and the firm's independence was questioned. In addition, all members of our audit engagement team, signed a written statement which clarifies their independence. We also didn't take any additional work on as per the audit committee's request, and therefore I will be able to confirm to the audit committee that the firm and myself is independent.
Jacques, you alluded to it earlier. I see that there are 3 vacancies in the finance department at the moment. Did you find that these vacancies had a negative impact or resulted in ineffectiveness during this year's audit process, considering most of the people left around the year end? And how did management and yourselves overcome this problem, considering those 3 critical vacancies?
Well, yes, as I said, the audit was definitely not as efficient as what it could have been. We did overcome it by putting in additional staff, but from the company's point of view, they did appoint an external consultant to act as financial manager to support the CFO. In addition, we had to rely on the CFO to answer a lot of the questions. So he did definitely earn his salary this past month. So we were satisfied that we got all the information and the explanations and answers necessary.
That's good to hear. Tell me, from your viewpoint, what's the assessment of the internal control environment at the company at the moment?
Well, the internal controls of the company is audited by the internal auditors. We had meetings with the internal auditors, we had review sessions with them, and we found them to be competent for the task that they were employed for. We did some walkthrough procedures on the internal controls of the company, and nothing came to our attention that would lead us to believe that the system of internal controls are not effective for the business. So we don't have a negative opinion on the internal controls of the business.
Tell me, I was looking at this year's audit findings. Are any of this year's audit findings recurring items? Are there any areas of concern that's rising from the past that had an impact on this year's audit?
No, of the previous year's findings, occurred again this year. During our interim audit, we looked at those issues and we cleared it, and all those recurring issues were handled by management to our satisfaction.
And tell me, in your opinion, what's the quality of the work produced by the finance department?
Well, just to take a step back, maybe, the major risks identified in the business related specifically to property, plant and equipment, revenue, provisions, specifically on the warranties and the bonuses, and then on debtors. Now, we did obtain sufficient and reliable information and evidence to satisfy ourselves of those risks. I think it is, however, important to bring a few issues to your attention. The first being that research phase expenses were capitalized to internally generated assets and not recognized as an expense. Now, this inaccuracy was adjusted by management. That was in the region of about 1.6 million rand, but that was adjusted. Borrowing costs that were not directly attributable to the acquisition, construction, or production of the building were incorrectly capitalized. Now, this inaccuracy of about 200,000 was adjusted by management. And then there was also a fair value movement of investment property that was incorrectly disclosed in the financial statements under other comprehensive income. Now, we corrected that, or asked management to correct it, to the profit and loss section. Now, the only difference that wasn't corrected, that's on our overs and unders, related to the auditing of foreign exchange rates and gains and losses. We found that management used the incorrect exchange rates, and that's to the value of about 300,000, and that's the only item on on our overs and unders. It's about 300,000, which is well below our materiality figure of 1.7 million rand. On the finance staff, I think the quality of the work was of a high standard, although we did experience some issues. The overall quality was good. I do, however, recommend that the financial manager's position should be filled as a matter of urgency to support the CFO in his work. But I would like to commend the CFO on the work that she's done.
That's good to hear. Jacques, is there anything you'd like to bring to my attention other than more than you've said?
No, I think that's basically a good summary of the audit that we performed.
Good. Thanks, Jacques. Thanks for the time.
Thank
I'll see you in about 7 days.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. The next meeting will be between myself and the CAE, the head of internal audit, and it's also focused around the year end and after the completion of the audit plan for this financial year.
And for that, please welcome Mr. Brian Mungofa. Again, I will ask you to encourage, especially when he gets onto the stage. It can be intimidating up here. If you don't get a soundtrack and you're facing this man called Mahendran Mudli talking audit, come on, man. Hey? Now I know you don't buy this, do you? I just gave you credit for having a heart. Now you're not. Okay. After that, we're going to have a meeting with the financial director. But for now, a round of applause for Brian.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for taking time to meet me today.
Thank you, Chair.
Brian, tell me, in this year's audit, did you find management and the CEO, were they particularly supportive? Did they assist the internal audit department in carrying out its functions this year?
Chair, as you know, I'm new to this audit. I've recently been appointed as an external chief audit executive. I must say, just based on the experience I've had with other clients, I'm quite pleased with the reception I've got from the CEO and the senior management team. All our audits, as per the approved internal audit plan, were done according to schedule, except in certain instances where they had to be moved because management had not implemented the remedial action that we had recommended.
And tell me, were there any hindrances or concerns that came to your attention that prevented you from carrying out your functions effectively?
I didn't notice any hindrances. They were quite helpful. We got all the information we needed. Where there was comebacks or information was a bit lacking, I got the extra support from the CEO, where he actually cracked the whip on senior management who were delaying us in terms of providing that information. So I'm quite pleased with the tone at the top, because I know the CEO does make sure that all the departments are in line in terms of getting us to do our work as internal audit.
And do you believe your internal audit recommendations are speedily and effectively implemented by management as and when they arise?
Chair, in the most part, I think our recommendations are taken seriously. As you can see from the audit pack, there are some areas where issues have been partially resolved, but this is more an operational issue. I think obviously management prioritizes issues that we have raised, and I think they've been doing a great job. Chair, I must say at this point, I'm a bit worried about the chief risk officer in this division, because we did raise a serious concern around the risk management policy and the strategy being implemented. And I think from that finding, which we raised some time back, when we did our follow-up reviews on that specific issue, because it's high risk, it still was not done. And Chair, I don't want to sound skeptical, but this meeting that's coming forth, I have a feeling this CRO won't even attend, because this division is not in a proper state.
You've mentioned the risks and the risk department at the company. In your view, are you satisfied that the major or significant risks are actually mitigated to an appropriate level to achieve the strategy of the company?
I am satisfied, given the work that I had to do extra around that issue. But Chair, like I said, I think maybe you need to come hard on this Chief Risk Officer, because I think that's an area where we need improvement within this organization.
And looking at your audit plan for this year, do you believe your internal audit department has the sufficient resources, be it financial or staff, to appropriately deliver on its 3-year strategic plan?
Chair, I think our 3-year rolling plan will be achieved. We do have sufficient resources to deliver on the mandate. My only concern is when issues get pushed out. Obviously, I have to make sure that I plan the people, and I don't actually find it very useful when management pushes out projects, because then it puts me in a tangle, because I have to fight for those resources within my firm. But if everything goes according to plan, I think our plan will be achieved in time.
Brian, have you had fruitful and meaningful interactions with external audit? And do you think that your work, effectively assisted external audit in fulfilling their function?
Chair, our work with external audits is streamlined through our combined assurance forum, where we meet monthly. We do share our reports with external audit, just to highlight to them potential risk areas. And those reports, we also get feedback from them in terms of other areas where they think from their side or from their perspective they're encountering business issues. And we try our best to obviously reduce any duplications in terms of assurance, giving assurance in certain areas. So our relationship with external audit is quite intense, and I think we do assist each other in terms of reducing the amount of audit time that we spend.
I've noticed from your internal control assessment, you've actually expressed negative assurance. Could you tell me why you've done this for this year's report?
Chair, it has always been done like that. We always issue a negative assurance.
I think as a company where we want to be innovative and challenge the status quo, we should issue a positive assurance statement. I mean, looking at a recent survey, about 80% of JSE-listed clients actually do give some assessment of the internal control environment. And of that 80%, 62% actually give positive assurance. So we're actually lagging behind. And I think it's not appropriate if we want to stay up that we shouldn't be giving positive assurance. It actually helps the audit committee with the assessment of the environment. Is this something you could easily implement? Would there be any significant changes to the way you do your work to get that positive assurance?
Chair, for us, we do our work in a way that guarantees us that we can give this positive assurance, but we tend to be very risk averse. So my risk department always says we should never issue positive assurance. But Chair, you've just given me statistics that I didn't have in my ammunition, because I think when we got this engagement, you did indicate to us that we must give value. And I think giving you positive assurance will give value to the company. So I'll go speak to my risk department and see if I can use these statistics that you've given me to turn my opinion into a positive assurance opinion. Because the work has been done to give that positive assurance, but it's just to cover our risk. We just followed last year's, Chair.
I think, I know it's risk-based, but if you look at the II standards, it does. And if you've complied, it's easier to give a positive assurance. So I think from the organization and for the audit committee's comfort, we'd really appreciate a switch to a positive assurance. And if there's any changes in your plan or your process, please notify us so we can address it, because we want that comfort around the internal control environment.
Thank you, Chair. I think at the meeting I'll provide an addendum to the opinion and give a positive assurance in the meeting.
Thanks, Brian. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or bring to my attention?
Chair, it's just the Chief Risk Officer who worries me, so please can you deal with them in the meeting?
I will. I'll take that up. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for your time.
Do they actually do that? Just, hey, move to the right, move to the left. All right, I still don't get it, right? So I'm standing there. We're going to move to the next meeting, but before I do that, I have to announce that our tea will be delayed a bit because there's an audit committee member who won't make the meeting, and as best practice dictates, she will have to come and speak to the chair as well. You don't just say, I'm not making it, send a text message, apology. So after the finance director would have had her meeting with the chair. We will add an extra consultation. It will be a quick one between one of the audit committee members whom I will introduce after this. But for now, welcome Karen Pepler, the financial director, to a meeting with the chairman.
Hi, Karen, how are you?
Good morning, Chair. Nice to see you.
Thanks. So, Karen, here we are at the end of another financial year. I think, the obvious question from my side is, how is this year's external audit process gone? Did you find there any issues that impacted your normal financial functions? Do you believe these external auditors understand our environment, understand our business, the audit was efficient and effective? What's your view?
Chair, I think we had a bit of a difficult audit this year, mainly due to the vacancies or people resigning just prior to the year-end process. We were fortunate enough to fill that vacancy with a very qualified person. As far as our external auditors go, they have a very good knowledge of the business. They were supportive and they understood the challenges we faced. And they were quite innovative in dealing with those challenges. And that will be part of the reasons that there will be a bit of an overrun this year.
Tell me, in reviewing the going concern of the company, what factors did you consider in coming up with your assessment of the ability of the entity to continue going forward?
Chair, this is always a challenging one to do. We looked at the financial performance of the company. We also considered whether there was any liquidity issues, whether there was any solvency issues. We looked at financial risks facing the company. We also looked at whether there was any regulations that would negatively impact it. We looked at the economic environment. So it was quite a long list of matters that we looked into.
I think to give the committee comfort, could you please include in the audit committee pack, I know it's gone out, so perhaps if you can circulate it electronically to the members, your 12 months forecast, as well as your maturity assessment on the bonds that we have, and also the financial ratios. So we can just see from an independent point of view, are we comfortable with those numbers, are we happy, and also to give our view on the going concern.
Chair, those schedules are prepared, so I will circulate them with pleasure.
Thanks, Karen. Over the past year, have your senior executives taken into account your financial strategy when undertaking new or bigger projects? If they haven't, and there's been deviations from the strategy, how have you dealt with that?
Chair, we were very fortunate that as a management team, we work closely together, and all the senior executives has taken into account the financial strategy. So there were no areas that I had to look at any resolution of differences.
And how have you satisfied yourself that the financial risks of the company have been mitigated to an appropriate level to achieve the overall objectives of the company?
Chair, we rely quite heavily on internal audit to support us there. We do also undertake self-assessments for our financial controls. So between our self-assessments and the internal control audit function, we are quite satisfied that all those controls are in place.
Have you established your risk management function as yet?
The risk management function has been established. We do have a financial risk register. We meet with the chief risk officer on a bi-monthly basis to go through the risks, to address any new and emerging risks. So yes, we have established same.
Currently there's 3 critical vacancies in the finance department, and if you look at the resignation dates, most of those people have left right in your hand, sort of, dropping you right in the middle. How have you managed to mitigate your risk to an acceptable limit? And also, what did you do to, manage your normal day-to-day functions and deal with external audit at the time?
Chair, I think there's 3 positions. The first one being the financial manager. That was a very unfortunate resignation. But we did manage to replace the financial manager with the external consultants for a period of 4 months to help us through the audit time. And now we looked for a seasoned consultant that had experience in the retail sector. So we were quite comfortable with that. And we also appointed the consultant with enough time for a handover from the current incumbent, and we'll make sure that that consultant stays on to do a proper handover to the new financial manager. We have already made an offer to a new candidate, so we're hoping for a response quite soon. The budget manager, well, we were busy with interviews at the moment. Unfortunately, as always, when a staff person resigns, it's always the CFO's responsibility to make sure that everything goes according to plan. So it would meant a little bit of longer hours for myself and my team.
In reviewing the financials, identified there was an increase of about 15 million to plant and machinery. However, there was no disclosure related to this, which I think it's a bit of a concern considering 50 million is a material figure for the company. Can you please explain to me what was this increase and why was that CapEx undertaken?
Yeah, Chair, that is an unfortunate oversight. I think the financial should have included an explanation for that. It related to new plant and equipment that was acquired. We made the investment to ensure that we have the latest technology in terms of production equipment, and we're sure that within the next 2 or 3 years we will see the adequate returns on the investment in this plant and equipment.
The obvious question from my side is, how is this year's external audit process gone? Did you find there any issues that impacted your normal financial functions? Do you believe these external auditors understand our environment, understand our business, the audit was efficient and effective? What's your view?
Chair, I think we had a bit of a difficult audit this year, mainly due to the vacancies or people resigning just prior to the year-end process. We were fortunate enough to fill that vacancy with a very qualified person. As far as our external auditors go, they have a very good knowledge of the business. They were supportive and they understood the challenges we faced. And were quite innovative in dealing with those challenges. And that will be part of the reasons that there will be a bit of an overrun this year.
Tell me, in reviewing the going concern of the company, what factors did you consider in coming up with your assessment of the ability of the entity to continue going forward?
Chair, this is always a challenging one to do. We looked at the financial performance of the company. We also considered whether there was any liquidity issues, whether there was any solvency issues. We looked at financial risks facing the company. We also looked at whether there was any regulations that would negatively impact it. We looked at the economic environment. So it was quite a long list of matters that we looked into.
I think to give the committee comfort, could you please include in the audit committee pack, I know it's gone out, so perhaps if you can circulate it electronically to the members, your 12 months forecast, as well as your maturity assessment on the bonds that we have, and also the financial ratios. So we can just see from an independent point of view, are we comfortable with those numbers, are we happy, and also to give our view on the going concern.
Chair, those schedules are prepared, so I will circulate them with pleasure.
Thanks, Karen. Over the past year, have your senior executives taken into account your financial strategy when undertaking new or bigger projects? If they haven't, and there's been deviations from the strategy, how have you dealt with that?
Chair, we were very fortunate that as a management team, we work closely together, and all the senior executives has taken into account the financial strategy. So there were no areas that I had to look at any resolution of differences.
And how have you satisfied yourself that the financial risks of the company have been mitigated to an appropriate level to achieve the overall objectives of the company?
Chair, we rely quite heavily on internal audit to support us there. We do also undertake self-assessments for our financial controls. So between our self-assessments and the internal control audit function, we are quite satisfied that all those controls are in place.
Have you established your risk management function as yet?
The risk management function has been established. We do have a financial risk register. We meet with the chief risk officer on a bi-monthly basis to go through the risks, to address any new and emerging risks. So yes, we have established same.
Currently there's 3 critical vacancies in the finance department, and if you look at the resignation dates, most of those people have left right in your hand, sort of, dropping you right in the middle. How have you managed to mitigate your risk to an acceptable limit? And also, what did you do to, manage your normal day-to-day functions and deal with external audit at the time?
Chair, I think there's 3 positions. The first one being the financial manager. That was a very unfortunate resignation. But we did manage to replace the financial manager with the external consultants for a period of 4 months to help us through the audit time. And now we looked for a seasoned consultant that had experience in the retail sector. So we were quite comfortable with that. And we also appointed the consultant with enough time for a handover from the current incumbent, and we'll make sure that that consultant stays on to do a proper handover to the new financial manager. We have already made an offer to a new candidate, so we're hoping for a response quite soon. The budget manager, well, we were busy with interviews at the moment. Unfortunately, as always, when a staff person resigns, it's always the CFO's responsibility to make sure that everything goes according to plan. So it would mean a little bit of longer hours for myself and my team.
In reviewing the financials, identified there was an increase of about 15 million to plant and machinery. However, there was no disclosure related to this, which I think it's a bit of a concern, considering 50 million is a material figure for the company. Can you please explain to me what was this increase and why was that capex undertaken?
Yeah, Chair, that is an unfortunate oversight. I think the financials should have included an explanation for that. It related to new plant and equipment that was acquired. We made the investment to ensure that we have the latest technology in terms of production equipment, and we're sure that within the next 2 or 3 years we'll see the adequate returns on the investment in this plant and equipment.
Was there investment to make sure the company stays relevant and competitive? It's a pretty highly competitive market, being in toys and board games. The needs of teenagers and younger kids always changing. So that capex was moved forward.
Yes.
And do we expect any more big capital expenditures like that going forward?
Chair, that will be assessed. I think there will be more capex going forward, definitely, because as you said, it's a very competitive market. Kids want better and nicer toys, so we will definitely invest in new technology going forward.
I can imagine days have changed. We had those building blocks, those wooden blocks. Now it's laser GI Joes running around in your backyard, taking out the dog. But thanks, Karen. Is there anything else you'd like to bring to my attention? Any of your concerns?
No other concerns.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Sorry. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Mahendran. But as I say, we're going to have an extra meeting. What do you do called month-end, year-end adjustments? We'll catch up after.
We'll educate you.
Well, no, I'm educating you. No, I'm telling you, you're going to make an adjustment. How can you educate me? We'll catch up after tea. All right, we're going to ask one of the audit committee members who can make the meeting. And as I say, the reason we are doing this is to make sure that you understand. You don't simply send a text message 5 to the meeting and say, sorry, can't make it. So, Ms. Tina Swendu, who's from DLA Cliff Decker, but here as audit committee member number 2, you'll see, is going to have a very quick meeting, and then we will have our tea afterwards. Please welcome her. She's apologizing. It doesn't mean you should.
Hi, Tina. Nice to see you.
Am I on? Yes. Chairman, I must apologize. I'm not able to make the meeting. I've been overbooked. But I have gone through the board pack and prepared a set of questions which I would like you to convey to the audit committee, particularly the CFO, the Chief Risk Officer, and some questions relating to the external auditor.
Yeah. Tina, I think, firstly, we normally have our meetings planned a year in advance. And this is actually quite a critical meeting. It's, audit report is being presented. We're getting a report on the internal controls from internal audit. We also have to, give our report to the annual report. I do appreciate, however, that you have gone through the pack and you will circulate your questions. However, I think, with somebody with your expertise, it's quite important, particularly in this meeting, to be there. So I think in the future, I do note, I know you're quite a busy person, please circulate your questions. However, I think it's imperative that going forward, you need to attend the full meetings. Someone with your legal experience, risk management, normally provides quite good quality input. And I like a full committee to be there. It's better for us to have everyone as opposed to just one person, which may have a different view. When you have combined views, it's actually a better meeting, and you can have all the issues thrashed out, look at your risks from a holistic perspective as well.
I truly apologize, Chairman. I didn't foresee that this would happen. I do understand that we're approaching financial year end, and it was completely out of my, control. That's why I took the time to come and meet with you and show my commitment and ask you, it's not going to happen again.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Tina. I look forward to your questions, and I thank you for your time for going through the pack. But please, in the future, please, prioritize our meetings. It's quite important that we provide the appropriate oversight and governance to this institution.
I understand, Chairman.
Thanks.
I understand. Chairman, if I may start. One of my concerns when I looked at the annual financial statements was almost like a 50% reduction in the tax expense, and I couldn't quite work out from the financials how this came about. I don't know if you can help me and perhaps raise that question with the CFO.
I think that is a valid question. We will raise it with the CFO. There is some questions around provision for taxes, changes in the act. So I think that is a question I'll send through to the CFO, and she can brief us in the meeting. Anything else?
I mean, being the new audit committee member here, I would like to also understand from the perspective of the external auditors, why, on a high level, why were these findings made? I mean, are these issues recurring, and are they being resolved? Because I couldn't work out from the reports who is accountable when the last treatment on some of the issues raised from the external audit perspective were dealt with. I mean, I have no sight of any previous findings that would have been made, and I need clarification of that.
I have asked external audit myself the same question. It appears that none of these findings were previously raised, so it's all new findings. But I think what would help us is that I'll ask external audit to forward the previous findings through to everyone, just to give us that comfort that these are not recurring items.
Yes. No, I am concerned about that as a new member, Chairman. And also just looking at the status of legal and regulatory compliance. I know the Chief Risk Officer is not coming through to the meeting. I have no idea of when an overview of regulatory compliance was undertaken and whether or not there are any areas of significant concern.
I think that is a valid point. It has been raised with me as well. It's something that I'm going to have to take up with the Chief Risk Officer. And I think they need to put more detail into the report.
Yes.
So it gives us comfort, not just high-level information. But I will raise it with the Chief Risk Officer and include that in the actual meeting.
Yes. And just one other last question that I had for the CAE is that I noticed in the report as well that there were approximately 10 audit findings that were made and only just 4 were reported on. And it's not clear what happened to the rest.
Okay, I haven't spotted that myself, but thanks for bringing that to my attention. I'll raise it with the CAE,
Yes.
and hopefully they can provide us feedback of the discrepancy of about 6. What happened to the other 6?
Yes, yes. And overall, I mean, it looks like the company is on the right trajectory. And once again, I apologize. I'm not going to be able to make the meeting. And thank you for your indulgence.
I think next time lunch is going to be on you for the whole committee as an apology. And I'll note it, but yeah, I'd like to see you going forward again.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Tina.
So, thank you very much. Thank you. A round of applause once again for Mahendra and Mudli.